So, good morning. I'm Vicki Reynolds from One Creative Environments, and we are a multidisciplinary consultancy. And our Smart Assets team, which sits within the Digital Estates business unit, is a software-agnostic digital twin and design and configuration service. So we don't actually develop software, we design solutions and build them using a range of different tools and software based on the client's budget, technical competence, and their requirements. So today I'm going to share a live case study from our work with a multi-academy trust, which has over 30 primary and secondary schools within it. And we're helping them to transition from fragmented records, limited digital assets to a smart, scalable estate platform. So when the trust approached us, they weren't exactly sure what they needed or how it might work, but they were certain that they couldn't carry on how they were. And after many discussions about their main pain points and their existing digital portfolio, we helped them to put together a wish list. And that included a solution to centralize their asset data, remove their reliance on proprietary systems, support smarter facilities management, enable retrofit planning so that it aligned with their net zero ambitions. And it needed to be accessible to both technical and non-technical users, so all the way from their estate managers to their caretakers and their school administrators. So from this wish list, we designed an open, outcomes-led digital twin strategy with long-term scalability in mind. And this is how we started that. So first, we reviewed their existing portfolio. Asset information for them was spread far and wide, and some technology and data repositories at the individual schools were known to the trust, but a lot of them were only known to the facilities managers or on-site maintenance teams. Some schools had a BMS with smart functionality, but others didn't. And for many schools, the CAFM system was literally just a series of spreadsheets. There was no consistency in the way information was stored, organised, or labelled across the estate, and many of their processes were still paper-based. So once we had a clear understanding of what they needed and what already existed, we put together a proof of concept across 2 of their schools. And that involved optimizing some 3D models that they already had from the Net Zero Accelerator program, which was funding to get digital assets by the Department of Education, and structuring asset data using the Department of Education naming conventions. We integrated compliance documentation, surveys, and O&M manuals, and all of this was brought into an environment that became their foundation for wider estate insights. So once we were armed with the outcomes of the existing asset review and the proof of concept, we were able to put together a set of information requirements to ensure that for all future works, either new build or retrofit, data handovers throughout the project would be consistent with the requirements of their new digital estate solution. So it should be noted that we'd identified really early in the engagement that updating legacy information would be beyond the trust's budget, and the potential ROI would not be enough to justify the cost of that, hence focusing for now on the current and future works. So we produced for them the organisational information requirements, which set out the estate's strategic goals and the why behind them, the asset information requirements, which documented the individual asset requirements, including the maintainable asset lists and the data standards, and the employer's information requirements, which provided the delivery requirements for each individual project. So elements of the digital twin included dashboards to monitor energy use and identify carbon reduction opportunities, as you can see on the left-hand side. The trust wanted plain language alerts to show the health of their assets in general. So you can see in the red section there, that's very clear language, and also a clear visual representation of the expenditure and the usage by day and by hour. So from this dashboard, they can create reports or dig deeper into the data to find root causes. And on the top right, you can see an element of their smart plan preventative maintenance scheduling function, and that was assigned at the asset level. So they could see all of the maintenance history of an individual asset and essentially do a health check on that. And the bottom right is how asset information is visualized. And that includes average uptime and the maintenance hours that have been put into that asset. So all features were designed to work for both the facilities team and the leadership team, with custom views to support accessibility for every different type of stakeholder. And even at this early stage, so we just past the proof of concept. We're starting the rollout on the additional schools. We can see that the benefits are tangible. So their risk visibility is improved, compliance management is centralized, maintenance is shifting from reactive to proactive, and the trust can now make informed decisions about where and how they want to retrofit. And they're also seeing real operational savings and better staff engagement. So this here on the screen is a snip from the trust's own independent assessment of the value of the twin so far, which we didn't influence at all. They sent it to us after they'd done it. And as you can see, they've estimated approximately 223,000 in annual savings, plus a range of less tangible benefits as well. So what's next? We want to scale the federated digital twin across all the sites. We want to enhance the integration with their existing systems and develop the platform to support retrofit procurement and funding bids. So all of this is supported by training and clear asset information requirements to ensure that what we build remains usable and relevant in the long term. And our long-term goal as One Creative is to empower them to understand and host their own twin without any reliance on proprietary systems or long-term consultants. And that involves us. Essentially, we want to work ourselves out of the equation. So this project shows that you don't need a perfect data set to get started. With the right structure, standards, collaboration, a fragmented estate can become a connected strategic asset. Thank you so much. I'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions.
In your delivery of these case studies, or the building of the tech stack, in the case of the VDN, what was a surprising obstacle that you came across, or an unexpected obstacle that you came across in trying to do it?
For us, it was finding exactly the right tools. So because we have a kind of ecosystem of tools that we use, there's the challenge of building those connections and the APIs and the distribution of the data between all the different systems. So we have to consider when we're looking at the systems, not only the functionality, but also their interoperability. And make sure that that is aligned with things like the client's budget and their needs. So there's always a bit of a balance between, yes, this does exactly what the client wants and will display the data in exactly the right way, but it means that then we can't use this, and this, or it limits our access to these other solutions. So that's that's probably the most difficult part for us.
And then obviously on the flip side, any unexpected or welcome bonuses? I mean, so something you saw that perhaps wasn't, so Vicki, in your case, for example, we saw the clearly laid out operational asset and enterprise information requirements, but any additional benefits or unexpected quantum of benefit that you weren't expecting?
Yeah, one for us it's actually a different school estate, but we had a school that had set some targets for their or net zero goals aligned to their energy usage, and they found that they were significantly missing that goal over and over again, but at a very set period of time. So they were fine, and then a date hit and they suddenly dropped off and they couldn't meet any of the goals. And nobody could explain why. They were just on the verge of starting to replace some of their assets, thinking maybe they've got less efficient. And then we dug into the data and found that actually the usage was peaking around kind of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. in a school. And we were like, well, what's going on beyond that time? And the school were like, oh, actually, I heard that someone is subbing out the hall for extra classes in the evenings. And so all of a sudden, we were able to see, right, well, those extra 2 or 3 hours of usage in the evening were knocking them over their target. They either had to realign their targets to include that, or they had to stop subbing out the hall. And I think without the data, they would have just started ripping out systems and trying to replace assets. So that was one unexpected insight.
Vicki, something specific for you now. You mentioned that DFE had specified a naming convention. Pardon me, had specified a naming convention. 2 questions, cheeky. Would you describe that as a mandated ontology? And secondly, does the naming convention just cover assets related to the built environment?
No and yes. So it's not mandated. It is it's kind of recommended or suggested, but it's also continually under review as a set of requirements, which is a challenge then for schools or estate managers who don't necessarily understand the nuances of the naming requirements anyway, and they're consistently changing, and they haven't actually been mandated. So what we did is took what we did have from the DFE. So they do have some good documentation showing their kind of best practice. We took that, we fed it into the requirements for the estate, but with an element of kind of, so that if we found out at a later date that the requirements of the DFE had changed or shifted, we understood at the very least the mapping, so that we could map that change accordingly. So it was a bit of best practice, a bit of what we already knew from other projects, a bit of the DFE, a bit of ISO 19650, trying to pull it all together and say, okay, in this instance, this is what is going to work best for this asset.